Hey folks, it's Joanna. Welcome to JCV Art Studio. I'm your host. I'm the author of The Unraveling and Dealer's Child. And today I have author, podcaster. His CV goes on, and you'll hear why. Freddie Cruz is with me
I've been
now.
doing this for 75,000 years.
I think that's what makes me nervous, Freddie, because I know I'm a novice.
No, you're not a novice. No, you're not. No, but
Oh.
when you say that, it's like, oh, wow, maybe I am old and maybe I've been doing this for a while. Oh, my goodness. Because I feel like a kid.
Oh, that's good. That's really good,
I think
right?
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to grow
Yeah.
old. Okay.
No, neither do I. Well, I'm 47, so, by society standards, I'm, past my prime.
Yeah,
But I feel
yeah.
like I haven't even achieved it.
Well, we're going to tell people about you, okay? Because the greater Houston area has
Hmm.
heard Freddie Cruz's voice. It's for more than 17,000 hours, they say, across 3 decades.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. I
Wow.
don't look a day over 90.
Okay. Oh, and Freddie, he's launched his own media company, Freddie Cruz Creative Works. And as you can tell, he is the host of Freddie's Huge Ask podcast. Now, when Freddie's not in the lab writing or creating, I loved this. You can find him nose deep in a book or snuggling with his dog Sparrow. Hey, what type of dog?
Sparrow, we found out this year that black mouth cur is an actual breed, and so we were told that he may be that.
Oh, wow.
He does look like an overgrown weenie dog when you look at him from the very front.
Yeah.
His snout does resemble that of a wiener,
Oh,
but
wow.
he does look like a black mouth cur. We had originally thought he maybe had some shepherd and perhaps Rhodesian Ridgeback, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have the thing on his back, so that would not be he would definitely not be Rhodesian. But yeah, he's 100% hot mess.
Aw. Well, I
Yeah.
had I had a friend of mine say to me, instead of calling them uh Mutts,
Hmm.
Heinz 57, she was very spiritual, and she said to me, "This dog is a love child." Right? That's what she referred to
Yeah.
it as, right? I thought, okay, that's very, very nice, right?
Yeah.
So,
Or we would call a Yorkshire Saint Bernard mix a defiance of physics.
oh my gosh, I don't even, wow. What was that breed? The two again was a York.
Yorkie and Saint Bernard.
Oh my God. I don't even want to think. Okay, how that happened. Okay.
A Chihuahua and a Great Dane. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll stop.
yeah.
I'll stop. I'll stop.
Okay.
I'll stop.
Oh. So we're going to talk about your book. We're going to talk about your book. Allow Me to Ruin Your Christmas. Um, this came at such a perfect time in my life. It's not that I don't like Christmas.
Hmm.
It's I find there's lots of build up and expectation for one day. And I find people are just about going crazy trying to make travel arrangements to come and visit all on one day, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, anyways, I'm going to say a little bit to our listeners. Freddie's book, Allow Me to Ruin Your Christmas. It is a gruesome revenge thriller, but it is funny. It is funny. And if you like characters pushed over the edge, dark acts, family drama, who doesn't have that? Then you'll love Freddie's blood-stained holiday treat. So, Freddie, let's talk about this book. Let's talk about this book. First, what I liked was your acknowledgments. You thank the reader for taking this wild holiday ride with you. Of all the options for entertainment at your fingertips, you say you chose my book, and for that, you deserve a nice big slice of fruitcake. And then you write, just kidding. Okay. And nobody likes that crap. But seriously, thank you. This is all in his acknowledgments. So I'm thinking, A, why do people make fruitcake? But besides that, opposites attract. Like this book, it says it's a gruesome revenge thriller, but there's humor. There's humor in this.
Thank you. Well, first off, I think fruitcakes were made for people who write one-star reviews for books
Okay.
that they don't like.
They get the
Kidding
fruitcake.
aside, yeah, kidding aside. Well, and you know what? I think everything has its utility,
Yeah.
except maybe fruitcakes. But no, this book, to your point about all the build up for one day,
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it was a bit of a projection because everything is it's the ideal holiday. It's family time and everyone's gathered around the tree or gathered in the kitchen with ham or tamales or desserts. Oh, little 7-year-old Jane and 6-year-old Jimmy are in the kitchen with mommy and daddy and Meemaw and Peepaw making cookies handed down, the recipe handed down from 25 years
Years ago.
ago,
Yeah.
and the paper is it's still got the handwritten recipe and the scratched out writing from, oh, use this amount of sugar instead of this. And so it, all that to say, and I'm saying this because I love tradition, all this to say, screw traditions for just 270 pages. Screw everything that you like about this season. Let's project a little. Let's dance with young's shadow.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
dance.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I have to read a few pages from this book. Ah, it starts on page 12. I have to read this, okay?
Okay. I hope I'm not embarrassed.
No, no, no.
I
So
will. I
that
may get embarrassed.
well, and then you can tell the listeners about Beckett. Beckett is
Okay.
our oh God, I'm wondering now if he's our protagonist or if he's our antagonist. But I see him as our protagonist who's being I'm just going to start reading. So this is in Beckett's point of view. Beckett comes home from school. He's, teenager, and he sees this green McLaren parked in the driveway. Okay. He goes into the house where his mom's supposed to be. Okay, here we go. The rose petals trace along the entryway. Hot liquid bile shoots up my throat, but I force it down. Closing my eyes, I count to 10, trying to figure out my next move. I've never had this much trouble sneaking into the house. Nobody said anything yet, so maybe I do have a chance to make a beeline for the door and leave for a few hours. Maybe go back to school or to the park to go for a jog. Something, anything, to meditate the vision of Lex Griffin and my mom away. Then a clap fills the air, and another one. I'll say it's a clap and not a slap because, well, this is my mom we're talking about, and I don't want to hear anything about body slapping and my mom. Santa Baby, the Madonna version, starts to play, and now I know I should leave, but I don't. I can't. This is my house, and my favorite podcaster, well, he's not welcome here anymore. I turned the corner of the entryway to see Lex's shirtless back, his arms spread across the counter, defined by his triceps and delts. Dude really does lift 4 times a week, and with strength like that, I'll have a hard time bouncing him out of the house. His head rocks from side to side. He raises it and says something I wish I could unhear. Stuff's going down. I don't want to say stuff's going down, but stuff's happening, right? You got to explain that scene. Like,
I really don't know.
what? Talk to us about Beckett. Poor Beckett.
Well, yeah, Beckett is. I I don't want to sound like the kind of author who's like, oh, my characters tell me what to
Yeah.
do, and I'm not responsible for the heinous things they do. Because I mean, these are thoughts that were obviously in my head that made it from
Yeah.
my brain to my hand to my fingers to the paper and into the. I mean, that takes a lot of effort to go from there to paper and then from paper into the computer.
Yeah.
But I just I really felt like last year in the past couple of years, I really maybe just had some things that I needed to work out. Um, and maybe he's just a reflection of me channeling some energy into something creative. And really, that's what I have found um, as a creator,
Yeah.
capital C creator. I think that's what we do, and I think that's what the muse calls us to do. Because what's the alternative? To
Yeah.
bottle up our thoughts, or to argue with people on the internet, or
Oh,
to
yeah.
you know, worse,
Yeah.
engage people in conflict, verbal, um, to run away.
Yeah.
I don't want to run away. I mean, sometimes I'll have dark thoughts and feel like I just need to disappear for a while, but
Yeah.
not like not in a morbid, macabre sense, like bodily harm wise. I'm just saying, like, if I could just poof, you know, go for a little bit. And
Yeah.
so I think some of these emotions, I think it's me acknowledging that I don't live the ideal life of it. What is an ideal life?
Yeah.
What what is happiness? What is sadness? Things I feel like we all want to, I think, have 1,000% control over everything we do, and 1,000% control over how people interact with us.
Hmm.
And it wrecks our worlds when that doesn't happen, when
Yeah.
something doesn't go as planned. And so I think a lot of what's in the book is kind of like this projection on my part to say, hey, you know what, Christmas time isn't all about that. We go back to the kids in the kitchen with mom and dad and the grandparents and all these traditions, and it's like, you know what, no, that's not everybody's. That's not. I don't know when this interview goes out,
Yeah.
but there's going to be more than just a handful of families whose Christmas will suck.
Yeah.
And guess what? There are people. There's a war going on,
Yeah.
and I'm not political. I'm just saying
Yeah.
there is war. There is conflict. There's poverty, and I will cede that world hunger is like less than 20%. I will see that. It doesn't mean that there's not people. In other words, the world is a complicated place, and
Yeah.
it's not just all rainbows and Santa Claus is going to come and deliver our presents under the tree. It's, hey, how about we have a little bit of fun wrecking crap?
Yes. Okay.
Oh, so that's the long answer. I'm sorry. I probably got a little carried away and went a little meta, but
No, no, I was going to say that this actually podcast is coming out December 17th. And
okay.
that was a very serious answer. Yeah, that was a very serious answer. So I would say this book is, can you say a bit therapeutic?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that. And you're a creator as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm not I haven't known you long at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that maybe there's some things that maybe you find your creations therapeutic.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the humor. God, if we don't have humor, I think that's when the world it will be in a very sad state, because it's for me with this book, it was like you said, reading reading about a family coping with the holidays, and things aren't going like you said, like the Santa Clauses and the 50-year-old recipes. So okay, so let's get more into this. Let's get more into this book.
Sure.
Now
Yeah.
you write in Beckett's, well, first you write in the first person's point of view with
Hmm.
different characters, which I thought was
Yes.
cool. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I know there are rules, such as you start in your heroines or heroes first point of view. You're supposed to stick, like this was an old rule when I started writing. You're supposed to stick with it throughout. Um, I'll make like clear breaks. I'll do, let's say, part one in my hero's point of view, then part two will be in the heroine's point of view, and I just do that for the story. Like I think, okay, I think this is the best way I can get this story across. So is that the same for you, or Why do you like using different first person points of view?
You know, this is my third this is my book.
Okay.
And so I wanted to create something different. I want to create something different all the time, which is why I don't really do series. But I've been told, and perhaps I'd love to hear whether or not you feel like there should be a sequel, because I've been told by more than one person that there has to be a sequel. So
Okay.
I'm not a series writer. I've got 3 books. They're all standalones. They're all completely different from each other. In fact, the second book, which is it's about radio and it's first person POV. The first book was third person POV, third person omniscient.
Yeah.
So it was more a function of doing something different to keep me engaged, because I figure the moment a writer or a creator of any type, the moment we start getting bored with the work
Hmm.
is the moment we lose the battle. Because I think if you cannot remain interested in what you're doing, how in the hell can we expect anybody to remain interested in what we wrote? um, and to point, reading the acknowledgement at the beginning, a book is you're not just looking at a YouTube video for 3 minutes. This
Right.
is hours and hours and hours
Yeah.
that you don't get back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Of someone's time. Like that's the thing.
yeah,
Time is so
yeah,
precious, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Now the tension. There's so many little gems. Um, you know, Beckett realizing that his mother is having an affair with this famous podcaster. And Beckett, he sees that because he sees the podcaster has a wedding ring on. And I was part of a discussion about tension and conflict and how they're separate. Now, you have immediate attention with Lex Griffin. Your thoughts about tension and conflict? Because, like I said, as I started reading this, it was the tension that just kept me going. Like, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? So, your thoughts?
I love conflict, and conflict has to exist in most of a story. And I think that's where I've grown the most as a writer, because the first book, and I don't want to shift focus to that, but I'm just kind of charting my writer journey. The first book, it was more like the invincible good guy
Yeah.
and the evil villains. And so while I think at the beginning, in the manuscript process of the first book, I in working with the developmental editor, they really helped reel that back and make these characters more complex. And so that was how I grew after the first book. And the second book, it was more like the anti-hero. And there were some components of the I don't know what you would call the external negative force, like the bad guy, the evil villain. There was a small version of that, but I mean, then again, the book is called "They Canceled the DJ." So, uh, but with this one,
Yeah.
I learned how to dial in the conflict sooner, like way sooner, within the first 10 pages, as opposed to drawing it out within the first 20. Um, And so, yeah, and it doesn't have to be. And one of the things that I learned, of course, I've been my career is as earned a living as a copywriter, and so it was mainly sales.
Okay.
It's a radio promo copy. I'm selling the benefit of going to a concert. I'm selling the benefit of listening to the radio station so that somebody can win tickets for Taylor Swift, or so they can win $1,000. So that's pretty much it's sales.
Yeah.
Um, but and very little conflict. There were some elements, when I write specialty copy or whatnot. But so all that to say, writing a novel, you've got to have that yin yang, that push pull, and it doesn't have to be explosive like a Lee Child novel for every single book. Um, you can have conflict without it being a major ordeal. It could be something that's humorous, or it could be something that just doesn't go the right way. It could be a flat tire. It could
Yeah.
be the dog barking at the Amazon guy, and all of a sudden we spill something on our lap, and oh my gosh, it's acid, and it's
Yeah.
now burnt through my jeans. I mean, it could be anything. I'm sure, we talked about before the interview, we talked
Yeah.
about Toni Morrison, who I can already guarantee is a way better writer than me. And I'm sure she's got loads of conflict in her story, because if she didn't, she wouldn't have such longevity.
Yeah. But I find like I you write, I think each author needs to write what they I don't want to say feel comfortable with, but what's in them,
Yeah.
and not trying to be someone else,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think that author is then being true to themselves, and I think they will lose out on the writing experience if you're trying to be someone else, or right, that because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. Well, I love the humor. I love the humor in this, and it's little things, like Beckett, this guy, his mom works in funeral sales, and he jokes, she comes home from work. How dead was business today? Like, getting that chuckle, right? So, okay, so is Beckett a little bit like you, or a little bit of like you and Beckett?
I think there are components of me and a lot of people who I'm closest with in all of my characters.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm trying to think, you know, it's not as easy for me to identify which character I'm closest to with this book. I think definitely with the second book, there is one character who I most identify with, and it's not any of the male characters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't realize these things until way after. In fact, my favorite writer of all time is Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote Fight Club and Choke, among others. He's got an incredible body of work. His nonfiction book, Consider This, I think is and you're talking to somebody who has a marketing degree. If I had to guess, the knowledge in that book is probably a year's worth of knowledge from a college course if you're majoring in literature. That
Oh,
would just be
wow.
my guess, because I
Yeah.
feel like I've gotten so much value out of it. I read it, reread it, highlight more things as I
Okay.
read it through multiple times. But yeah, and I forgot where I was going with that.
That's all right. I was wondering if you were saying that it's your second book where you identify more with a female character
Mm,
than
yeah,
with
and
Beckett.
now now I remember. So it's
Yeah.
in hindsight, when you read books, and I was talking about Chuck um before I went on my fanboy tangent. He says that and I mean I'll admit that gladly.
Yeah.
Um but he talks about not really knowing what, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, so this isn't a direct quote, but he talks about not really knowing what issues he was working out until way after he has written the book. And then when he realizes what he was working out, it's like, whoa, okay. Um, and I got to that moment with
Yeah.
Allow Me to Ruin Your Christmas. I got to that moment um, just in the past couple of weeks, and I'm like, all right. I'm like,
Okay.
all right, okay, okay, yeah, yeah. It is crazy and you're a writer too.
Yeah.
It's crazy what getting into the flow state of writing can lead you to vomit on the pages, for lack of better terms.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. So we've been teasing people. So I'm going to ask you the standard question. Can you tell our listeners what Allow Me to Ruin Your Christmas is about? Like, we've been teasing them, saying about the different characters. So what is it about?
I'll tell you who it's not for.
Okay.
It is not for anybody who wants a sweet, cozy romance set against the backdrop of Christmas time in the Houston area. if you like flawless characters that you can absolutely root for, this is not your book. If you like happy-go-lucky, merry old times at the mall, if you like hot glasses of cider with your favorite characters who you just look forward to spending this time with them after a long day of work, no, this isn't what you're going to get.
Yeah.
This is almost, I don't want to say it's a counter revolution because it's nothing like a counter revolution. It's just like I think really more than anything it's a projection. And I was on a podcast earlier this month where I openly admitted it. My wife loves her Hallmark Channel movies.
This is not a
And
Hallmark.
this is definitely not. And when I say that it may have been a projection, and when readers get into the back half of the book after everything just kind of really starts to snowball downhill, you'll realize that, oh wow, this guy really does not like Christmas movies.
Yeah. Oh, well,
But I
it's
mean, I like Christmas movies. I like Bad Santa.
yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, I've been enjoying it, and I feel
Thank
for
you.
Becca and the other characters. Like, I mean, so there's a role reversal with some of these characters. The mom wants Becca to ask her about Lex, right? And Becca
Mhm.
doesn't want to. And I understand why Becca doesn't want to. And now Avery is Lex's daughter, and she's like an adult. Like, like, okay, I've got to
Yeah.
find it. And by the way,
Yeah.
I have not had my morning coffee yet. Okay. So if I stumble my way through some of this podcast, that's the reason.
My
I
condolences.
it's
I don't
I
know how you make it
blame
this late in the day without coffee.
I blame Shania Twain. I saw her on the People's Choice Awards last night, and I thought, damn, I got to start weight training again. So I was strength training. I'm a retired personal trainer, right? And so I did the thing I should not do. I saw Shania Twain on People's Choice Awards, and this morning I was doing my strength training, and I missed my coffee. But
Well,
it's
kettlebell training with 45-pound weights can do that to you. We can just curl 20 reps at 45 pounds, and you do the kettlebell swings with 100 kilogram. No,
I do the kettlebell
that's
swings.
not what you.
I still
Oh
do
God.
for someone 50-ish, I will do a kettlebell swing. And gosh, this isn't supposed to be about me. This is supposed to be about your book. And okay, but now that we're here,
But I love talking to you about this kind of
okay,
stuff. I mean, that's the beauty of a podcast. But I'm sorry to go off topic.
that's okay.
Kettlebell swings are the spawn of Satan, by the way.
Well, hey, maybe one day when I'm in my 60s or 70s, maybe I'll make it into the Guinness Book of Records because I can still do men push-ups. So that's why I missed
Nice.
my coffee. I wonder if Shania can. Right. Anyways.
All right, there you
Okay.
go.
But like Avery, she's Lex's daughter, and the little girl Piper is having a meltdown because it has to do with Santa. And Avery says to Lex, she's like, Piper, she doesn't need, another American Girl doll or Barbie set. She needs her parents, right? And it's like, go Avery.
Yeah.
So just how did you come up with this girl Avery?
You know,
Any
I have no I have no answer.
Okay.
And that's crazy because this is the first book that I did not completely pants. Um,
Okay.
so there was a mild outline, and I gave myself permission to let the muse dictate any any to dictate whether or not I can go rogue. So I allow myself. Again, this goes back to Chuck Palahniuk
Yeah,
saying that he plots the first half of his book, and I'm like,
really.
actually genius. That's actually genius because you've got some structure.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to if you want to go to Disney World, you can go to Disney World.
Yeah.
But if you completely pants it, you might just end up going to Disney World in a plane that runs out of gas
Yeah.
and you crash land. So I think I like the plotting the first half, and and I had the characters mapped out too, which was something that I really had I hadn't really tinkered with it too much previously, but yeah, I thought, you know what? If I'm going to write this book, and the developmental editor who I worked with for the second one, she had made the point: if you want to write a book every year or somewhere along those lines, then you would do best to plot and have an outline. And so I'm like, all right, so this is I want to do a book every year, a year and a half. This year professionally has been a little rough,
Yeah.
so I'm not probably not going to write much in 2023. Um, but I'm like, all right, I know what I got to do. And so I mapped out my characters and everything, because I'd also started listening to writing craft podcasts.
Yeah.
I've got a stack of writing books.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of benefit to having a character log or a character diary of, okay, this is what, you know, this is what Avery's gonna, this is, this is who Avery is. This
Mhm.
is her avatar. She has, and I forget what color hair she is, what color hair she has. So I apologize, but
Yeah.
she looks like this. She's about this age. She is this, and I have the notes somewhere. But and I had all of this worked out prior to writing. That way, in the developmental phase, if I say that she's got green eyes on page 20 or whatever, that on page 200, I don't go and say, oh, I'm staring in her ocean blue eyes.
Yeah.
And then her reader's like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's trying to maintain that continuity. So when you're writing, you have an idea, or you're just making it easy. You're making the editing process easier. And I hate saying that, because there's nothing easy about editing, and you're a writer yourself. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
See, now I pants, but that is, I literally 3 days ago, handwriting, just I started writing down the scenes that I had written,
Mhm.
just to kind of keep I thought, if I write it down, I don't have to worry about thinking about it in my brain, because I know I have it on paper and I can
Mhm.
free up space and keep going. But that's the first time I've heard, and that sounds like a really good idea, plotting the first half. That is the first time I have heard that. That's
Yeah. I
really
mean,
good.
yeah, because it's structure, but then it's not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have to be able to show the reader where you're going with this story. And so you're you have the structure, but then you also, you want to be able to leave a little space for going rogue,
Yeah.
for experiencing something new. What was it? Was it Robert Frost who said, if there's no surprise to the writer, there's no surprise to the reader, or something like that? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then, you also have me thinking, with characters, I find some characters, because I pants, some characters can come on strong really fast,
mhm.
but then others, I'm just thinking about, Avery here. Others, it's like, okay, I'll go back and start working on them. How you say you map your characters?
I'm gonna do that. Yeah, this is the first time that I've done, like, so. For example, with the first book, I knew that I wanted my protagonist to be a retired Navy SEAL,
Yeah.
and I wanted the antagonist to be the the spawn of a presidential family who was going to go rogue.
Yeah.
And so I had those two characters were already figured out. I didn't really necessarily know what they looked like, but I knew that all the things that they were going to do were going to be. I already had those. I already had the long game vision.
Okay.
But yeah, it's characters are really, it's when you nail it, you nail it, and there's something inexplicable. But and I've heard so many different schools of thought, like, oh well, as long as the plot moves forward, you could probably get away with having bad characters, or if you have great characters, you don't really need much of a plot. And I think the answer is somewhere in between. I think you
Hmm.
need the plot has to go somewhere,
Yeah.
and you have to have characters. Whether or not you're cheering for them is, well, I guess you want. In this case, I'm not sure who you would be cheering for.
Yeah.
I really don't. Maybe you're cheering for Avery for things to go back to normal because her parents are garbage human beings. So
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe that's who you're cheering for.
I'll let you know when I finish it. I'll let you know. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing I like, and I'm wondering, like humor is so subjective, like art.
Yeah.
Um, Now I'm not a comedian. I actually really like Mark Maron because I like the sarcasm. Okay.
Hmm.
I've also like Ricky Gervais because I like the sarcasm. And
Yeah. Ricky's good.
there's sarcasm in here and it is just fun to read.
Thank you.
And it's like Lex. He's taking, little Piper, right? He's taken her to school, and you have here she's like part of the Santa squad and she's grilling Lex, okay? And Lex pulls into the elementary school and you write the safety patrol kid with the power complex, right? And I could just see it. So what do you feel sarcasm makes for better humor? Like sometimes I feel like we're losing sarcasm.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I come from the terrestrial radio world where even if it's not on the air, behind the scenes, we are just cutting it up.
Yeah,
Sailors, we curse like sailors and a
yeah,
lot of dark humor. And so, yeah, and working in that industry for more than 25 years, um, you you learn how to you, you pick up on you soak it up like a sponge,
yeah,
and so yeah, it's embedded in my DNA, and I don't necessarily think of myself as funny so much as I just want to have fun, and I had fun writing this at the expense of some characters.
yeah, yeah,
That's probably really that's probably a really bad thing to say, but I mean, I'm creating these worlds and I have control over it. And that's something else too that
yeah,
and I forget who said that, but we authors, we want to have control over our environment and we want to do things to these people that we create, these imaginary friends and these imaginary enemies. We want to have complete agency over their lives. And
yeah.
so if we're going to wreck somebody's life, we want to do it our way, when we want to do it, how we want to do it.
I've never thought of writing like that. Right? I'm going to wreck my character's life.
Or
That's
make them absolutely miserable.
yeah, yeah. That's
When
a
you get
different.
to the end, just wait.
Okay.
And don't
Oh
skip to the end.
no, 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 no. I won't, because like I say, it's the journey with this, and yeah, it's like popcorn. I'm sitting there and I might as well be eating popcorn and reading because it's been so enjoyable.
Thank
And like
you.
I say, the sarcasm, I mean, like Beckett, he's in the coffee lineup, right? And
Oh
whether
God.
it's the voice, the dialogue, right? And
Yeah.
it's the siphon coffee lineup and the
I love
girl.
Siphon Coffee, by the way. That's a real shop.
Is that a real shop? Oh,
It's a real shop and I love it.
okay. Good
Yeah.
to know. Good to know. But you have this scene. This girl butts in front of Beckett, and he says, "Go ahead. We like it when spoiled trust fund babies cut in line." And like I say, it's the sarcasm, which I thought, yes, I like this kid. So I'm now I'm wondering what's going to happen with Beckett later on. Okay, so would you say this book would is also relationship driven? Like I know we talked about character, we talked about plots, but what do you think about the idea of it being relationship driven as well?
Hmm. I can see that.
Yeah,
I can also I just characters are human. People are just complicated, and on my podcast, I got to talk with horror writer Tyler Jones, who, by the way, I learned of Tyler through a podcast interview I heard with. shocker, Chuck Palahniuk.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I spoke with Tyler, and one of the themes of what he was talking about is that, we're not just one thing.
Yeah.
People, you're not just one thing. You're not just an author. You're not just a creator. You're not just an awesome interviewer. You're
Thank you.
also a daughter and a friend, and guess what? You're allowed to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And guess what else? You're allowed to learn from those mistakes.
Yeah.
And if someone has a bad experience with you, and they think, I don't know, if you accidentally cut somebody off in traffic and they think that you did it on purpose, and they flip you off and they think that you're the worst thing to ever happen to them for that day, then you're the worst enemy.
Yeah.
But you're not,
Yeah.
because you're not just one thing, and
Yeah.
neither am I. And
Yeah.
so I think there's a lot of and maybe that's another projection on my part, is that I tried to create people who, Lex's wife is a really successful entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And at what cost?
Yeah.
At what cost? I mean, you talk about Avery, and
Yeah.
Avery was like, "Hey, I want what if Piper just needs her parents for Christmas?"
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit of projection as well. And yeah, maybe this book was a lot more therapeutic than I thought, but I just had fun creating a really, I don't know, fun ride, something different I've never done.
Well, the dialogue, like I say, for Beckett is so good, so good. So I'm, we're gonna wrap it up here a little bit. I have
Okay.
a fun question for you. Believe it or not, this has been such a fun interview. I didn't really go with a lot of my notes. Okay. I what's the saying? I went on the fly. Like I looked down at some of my questions, but here's my fun question, which I
Okay.
have, which I don't want to skip.
All right.
You bump into Beckett. Okay, let's set this up even more. It's
Okay.
Christmas. Well, let's say it's Christmas. Let's say this afternoon you go out to siphon coffee and you bump into Beckett in the lineup. Gosh, now I'm thinking about what happened. What's going to happen? Oh, never mind. Don't overthink it, Joe. I overthink things. Let's just say you bump into Beckett in the lineup. What would he
Yep.
say to you?
Excuse you.
That's it, hey?
Excuse you. Excuse you. But he would say it probably with a very friendly tone.
Okay.
And then he'd look at me, and then he'd look me up and down, and then he'd probably say something about my t-shirt, the
Okay.
one that says, "I have 2 daughters, you can't scare me."
Okay.
And then he
Okay.
would look at the t-shirt, and then he would say, "I'm willing to try anything."
Oh.
At which point I would just probably nervously laugh it off and go about my business. So.
Whoa. Okay.
And I do
Okay.
have that shirt. Oh, and by the way, all the places that you read about, I'm not sure if you've gotten to Cyclone and Ayaz, or I know Dish Society is in there as well. Those are
Good.
actual restaurants.
Neat.
So every place is in. So when I say it's set in Houston,
Yeah.
it is absolutely set in Houston, and the spots and the menu items, and I think you said you're up to chapter 12, so I don't know
Yeah.
if you've gotten to Ninfa's yet.
No, not yet.
Okay, so that's a place. It's an actual place, and so it's quite literally all over the Houston area. Cinco Ranch is a part of town. And so is I think I name dropped River Oaks. I know Cyclone and Ayaz is in the River Oaks area. So yeah,
Good.
it's I had a lot of fun writing it. I'm
Good.
glad that you're having fun reading it, and I apologize in advance for ruining your Christmas.
No, no, no. I wouldn't say that. Not at all. Not at all. Okay, Freddie, this has been a blast. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.